Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sim Racing in Focus podcast. It's been a little while, but we're finally back for episode number 19 after near 2 months off for really no real reason, just lots of clashes and whatnot with the schedules. But I'm glad to say we are back tonight. I am your host, Dean Reddit. I am the owner and editor of the small website known as the simracinginfocus.blog. Also, this here podcast. Joining me, as he always does, is Jacob Packets Hughes. Packets, it's been a long time, mate, but welcome back.
Yes, it's been about 80 years, I think. Did you just say 2 months?
Yeah, nearly 2 months.
Wow.
Unreal. People are just
time flies.
The algorithm's forgotten about us for sure, so we're just talking to ourselves here. Surely no one's listening at this point, but everyone's probably just put a fork in us, said they're done. They're done.
Yeah, we've done what every iRacing Buddy podcast has done and just sank.
Died in the ass. No, we resurrected. We're back. We're back.
We're still putting them out more consistent, but than the actual iRacing official podcast. I've got to say that because they only put out one podcast episode every build. So
yeah, I always thought you meant to try and keep somewhat regular with your podcast, but yeah, there's some people that most people would want to listen to, considering iRacing's what we do. And yeah, they're not that consistent, but
No, I really enjoy their podcast too because they talk like just technical stuff about the software and everything else that they're working on and things that they're like, the way they think when they're doing updates. They just talk about all the little technical things that no one really thinks about outside of the box. So I find it really interesting. But yeah, they do like a podcast once every 12 weeks and it only goes for 20 minutes. So come on, surely you can do a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it mustn't be worth the backlash for it.
Nah, yeah.
Oh, well, in case you haven't figured it out, we do talk about sim racing on this podcast when we're not getting sidetracked on other things. But
I'm glad you reminded me because I forgot what we actually talked about on here.
Yeah. The question is, have either of us done sim racing in the last 2 months to be able to talk about it?
Yes.
You have? Okay, fantastic. There's a reason why I have you on this show. All right, awesome. Yeah. Well, we got lots to talk about. I think we've tried several times, and Packets, you got short-term emphysema there, which cancelled the last time we tried to schedule episode 19.
Yeah, I had about 205 liters worth of I don't know, it was gooey stuff stuck in my sinus region, which has given me issues.
And just a bushfire that was burning in your local area for a week. Yeah. Smoke inhalation. So
just destroyed me.
There's been more than a few things that's cropped up in a way, but there's been a few big developments in the not just the iRacing but the sim racing scene, and I think we sort of said, right, I think it's about time we actually caught up for a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully get through some of these things. On tonight's episode, we'll be looking to just cover it off. We haven't even had a chance to cover off the new, well, it's not even new anymore, the Season 4 build in iRacing.
We'll halfway through the season, aren't we?
Yeah. I have to double check they haven't started releasing the silhouettes of the next lot of cars to be released. We'll be talking about other
Was there a mid-season build that we just...
Just the patches. Oh, dear. Oh, God. Oh, no. We're falling apart. But, yeah, we'll catch up with a few leagues as well. We got, it's a big week for the supercars. It's iRacing special event. We've also got the Real World Bathurst 1000 on this weekend. So, I don't know. I can't offer too many insights into the real world stuff, but we'll touch on the official Series 1. We got, obviously, the Logitech Enduro Cup. It's Enduro season all round for just about all the V8 supercar leagues. We'll also catch up on the last 2 rounds of the GT3 Premier Endurance League, and we'll cover off, a story that we've followed for a couple of stories that we've followed for the most part of this year, Packets, and that's the takeover of Fanatec by Corsair, and also it now seems, after some recent optimism, that motorsport games, believe it or not, may not actually make it.
Oh, damn, the Titanic sank, did it? Far out. We didn't see that coming.
It might surprise you that some people think that you're just a wee bit negative on the show. But in saying that, you haven't been proven wrong yet. So on a lot of these takes that you have on these companies, we want to see the optimistic point, like they can succeed, and you're like, no, they're just definitely not going to succeed. Yes, lo and behold, they haven't. So right.
I'm actually surprised because, like, without even diving into it now, like we'll talk about it later, but like when I heard that, I was honestly surprised because like LMU had been doing pretty good, and like a lot of people like it. A lot of streamers are positive about it, especially like David Sampson. Like he froths on it. Like I haven't tried it myself, but everywhere I've looked, people like it. It runs good. It's had its little issues, but yeah, I don't know what happened because it seemed like it was doing good, but bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's get back to it. We'll get back to it in the end of this. We're going to get on with some iRacing stuff here to start off with. I got a few theories, but we'll save them for the end of the show. But like, let's kick off with iRacing Season 4, 2024 already. I was just having a bit of a poke around, just refreshing my memory as to what actually come out in this build. We're quite excited.
I'll tell you what.
Go on.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'll tell you what didn't come out. That was the Gen 3.
And the McLaren didn't make it for the start either. Where did all the McLarens go? Yeah. But we were quite excited for the McLaren, but it's we'll catch up. Yeah, let's talk a bit about this build. Look, I haven't brought anything. You pulled off a strategy play where you brought the old GT4 BMW 2 weeks before the new one was going to get released, so you could get a refund. How did that pan out for you?
It panned out pretty good. It's crap because the production car series, which I love driving the Mustang in. Not so much these days, but like back when the Solstice was in it. It was a fun series because it was a good entry to multi-class racing, and you always caught up to the Solstice class. So, like, it was good. But then they put the 86 in there and the Clio, and you never caught the next group of cars again. Like, it was a pointless multi-class series as far as I was concerned. So they've ejected it. And they've now replaced it with the old BMW GT4. So I was like, oh, that might be fun, even though I really like the Mustang. So I'm like, I'll just buy it. So I got my credits back, but I had the intent of buying Cadwell Park. So I used that money to buy that. So it worked out pretty well.
It depends how you look at it.
Yeah, I know.
You invested the money to buy a car, you got the refunds to buy the new car, and then you used it towards buying a track, which you would have had to pitch more money towards as well, because they're not the same price.
Nah, it was like $2, I think. $2 American. Yeah, so it's probably $1,000 Australian.
So big brain play there. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So, my first foray into the new build was the mini stock, and I've got to say I think that's what's caused 2 months worth of layoff for iRacing for me, because I enjoyed that for the first lap, and then the gearbox in that thing is absolutely hideous. I don't know what the hell you're meant to do with that car, but you can't downshift in it at all.
Hang on, I just want to say, you just said then, I don't know what you meant to do with that car. I can assure you that the races that we were doing isn't what you meant to do with that car. The car is made for short track ovals to stay in probably third gear.
Not rally.
We were using it. Exactly. What we were doing is the Daytona infield short track. and there was a jump at the start-finish straight that we were launching it on. So, like, it wasn't designed for that, but it was pretty fun. But I thought
it was fun up until the point where you just needed to try and go from fourth down to first or second, and I don't know, it was doing my head in. It was so frustrating.
It was very bizarre. It's kind of like the Formula V when you downshift too soon in that thing, and it just does a 360 off the track.
You couldn't even get the gears to go in. Like, it wouldn't even select them.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I don't know. Just wouldn't go in. So
maybe the auto gearbox might be
maybe
the smart pick next time.
As I go along in iRacing, I am getting worse and worse. So it might be time I'm going to have to go back to turning assists on. Anyway, well, so since you did pick up Coldwater Park, what are your impressions of that track? Because that looks like a lot of fun, at least to me. I haven't got in there and done it yet.
Yeah, it's got the sickest jump on it. That's my takeaway from it.
All the important stuff
down the hill. Yeah, well, that's why I bought it. I bought it and I just launched the mini stock straight off the jump. Look, everyone knows it's a very skinny track. It's a very tight track, not made for big cars.
GT4 is another kind of track.
Oh, even that's kind of too big. I think like maybe four. Yeah, I know the F4s are going there. That's probably the peak, I reckon. Like, I wouldn't want to take anything else bigger than that there. But yeah, I think like MX5s would be good there. The Formula 4 would be good. But yeah, I think the F4 is probably like the peak. One thing I do want to try there is the Pro Trucks. I reckon that would be fun on a hosted race.
Yeah, they're always good for a laugh, the Pro Trucks.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I've seen the McLarens out and about now in a lot of our GT3 leagues, so the ones that are allowing the swap from the old to the new model. So it looks like it's being received pretty well.
Yeah, well, it did initially get released. I think they were waiting on the approval from McLaren for a couple of days because they wanted to make sure that the car could last more than 3 laps without burning the tyres out, I think.
As compared to the old one.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, look, I don't know. Like, there was obviously... I don't know. There was obviously some sort of miscommunication, but anyway, regardless, like, it was ready and it got released a couple of days later. So, but yeah, I have not bought it because like I said to you before the podcast, I've hit a point where I've just like can't be bothered buying GT3 cars anymore. It's just I've got the one that I'm happy with, or the ones I'm happy with.
It's an expensive undertaking, isn't it? Like
the Chev and the Mustang, that's what's made me like this. I think I was so flat after buying them and not liking either of them that I'm just like, I'm just going to stick with what I know, and that's what I've done. Like,
I got there a while ago too. Like,
yeah,
with because it's for me. And like, you'll get this as well now because you help with our team and what we do. It's not, you don't just buy the car. As soon as you buy the car, you need to have a paint to put on it. Like, it's twofold. You're getting the cost 2 times over. Like, if you pay paints or whatever to put on the car, and it's like I want to refuse to acknowledge this car's existence, so I don't have to then contact, painters and and then ultimately have no one race it.
When it came out, I was just waiting for a notification in our Discord to be like, "Oh, we got a livery for this," because like I just wanted to like turn around and just say, "Can you get, fucking, you know what I mean?" It was like, nah, like, but like luckily no one's asked for one, which is good. So
yeah, that's the advantage of not having many active drivers.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, no, it's I'm glad it's there. Like I said, it's kind of almost, we've had to wait that long for it. I'm kind of almost like petered off, but for this, at least this current season, I'm going to stick with what I got. I might be tempted going into the new season of Prem or whatever we decide to run GT3 wise, that I might actually be looking to then at least test it.
Yeah. I think, like, from what I've seen, because obviously a lot of people are running it, looks good. Sounds very flat. Yeah, I think that's my takeaway from it. I think that there's even a video. I can't say his name because I can't remember, but this guy actually drove the real life one at Spa, I think it was, and he did a test drive in it on iRacing. He goes, "Looks good." He goes, "Doesn't sound very good," but he's like, "It just sounds like it's got no life." I'm like, "Yeah, I get that. That's an iRacing thing, like where you just don't have those noises, those clunk noises and rocks hitting, like it just that life." I don't know. Yeah, everything sounds lifeless in iRacing a lot of the times, and I think this just sounds very flat.
I think anyone that's listened to us for long enough, that's kind of it's possibly the biggest issue.
Yeah.
From not that I have big long-standing bad issues with iRacing. It's just it's the one thing that it seems that it does pale in compared to other simulation, and it doesn't seem like it would be that. I know nothing about developing games or simulators or whatever, but it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal. But it's obviously obviously a sound engine issue, like an older sound engine that they're using. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, they are working on their sound engineering and the way it works, because there was a release from them a couple months ago. They're talking about how they're going to make echoes. So, like, when you drive next to the wall, how you're going to hear it going through under an overpass and whatnot, like, say, at Motegi or whatever. They're working on that and the way that the sound is. So there is a big overhaul coming with sound eventually, but that's like the way they were talking is like at least a year or so. Like it's going to be a year or two probably, but I think eventually they get there. But I think you and me have said a lot. Like we don't like driving ACC. Like it just doesn't feel good. But the sounds just it's unmatched. Like compared to iRacing, the sound's just so good. Yeah. You can hear like you hear the tire noise, you hear the rocks from the tires and rocks hitting the bottom of the cars and all the bits of rubber flicking up. Like it's so lifeful. Like
and even just like going down like when you're going through pieces of track that are lined with barrier, you get like the reverberation noise and stuff like that off the barriers. Like like that's just, as far as immersion's concerned, that's just unmatched. Like I'll just every now and then I'll just get in ACC and just, like I said, just blast my ears out for 10 laps or something like that, because it's just just reminds you of what the cars are actually somewhat meant to sound like. But I remember you saying actually when the McLaren first did come out, you were just like, this kind of just feels like an extension of the Audi in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of just, I don't know, maybe they drive completely different, but like it's the same with the Audi. I love the Audi, but it is quite, and the new one's a bit better, but it's quite silent and not very aggressive on the road.
It's like the old Merc. The old Merc was so loud. It was all engine noise, and you're like, oh yeah, that thing will just blow your ears out. And then we got the new one, and it's just like, where's all the noise? It's just like
100%.
Like, it's so,
you can tell the sound's more refined, but the last one was like aggressively loud. But this one's just like yeah, and know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh dear. What about we've been, like I said, we've been off for a while. Have you been doing much racing yourself in that time?
Oh, mate, I'm glad you asked. I've become a full-time oval pro, I guess you could say. I've gone deep in the driving oval officials pretty consistently. Anything from the trucks to the Xfinity. I haven't really done much in the Cup car. Don't know why, but the truck series and the Xfinity series. I've been really enjoying that. And it's just, I've always sort of like tried to and then never really liked it. But I finally hit the spot now. I'm putting it down to the fact that I've been watching a lot of actual NASCAR like the past sort of 6 months. So since Gizzy's like been over there doing it, like I've been watching Xfinity races consistently. And then if he's ever in the Cup Series as a fill-in, like I'll watch that as well. So I've been consistently watching it now to the point that I know a lot of drivers' names. So like it's just, I don't know if that's contributed to it. But I've definitely started to enjoy ovals a lot more.
I think it's got to have played a factor because you've changed your Discord name to Jacob Van Jizz Packets.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
You didn't think I would go there.
Just trying to channel my inner Giz.
Oh, I should say, Jacob Van Giz Packets. Yeah, that's right. That's the one. I mispronounced it the first time. Okay, so you are deep. You're in there deep, real deep. Okay, that's interesting. I can't bring myself to just keep forking out 25 Australian dollars for an oval track, like 13 times over for a season or whatever it is.
Oh, no. It's funny, but officials have been popping up and they're like, oh, you own this track. I'm like, really? I'm like, that's bizarre. But then I remember there was I think it was SRW. SRW had a truck series. And I remember me and Scalzi actually did it. And Rankin was, this is my introduction to Rankin. That was when Rankin actually started commentating for him. And then I think the first race, the poor bloke, I'm pretty sure he was doing commentating as well as race control. Because I remember
this now, actually.
I remember, like, we would just have, I think we had like 3 safety cars back to back, and none of us had raced ovals before. Me and Scalzi are driving, going, what am I meant to do? It's telling me to go to the back of the field now. What the freaking hell's going on? Like, and like, we just got no idea. We're just rookies. And then I remember like Rankin kept chiming into the Discord. He's like, or into the in-game chat, I can't remember. He just lost his shit, and it was just so funny. Like, I'm like, this poor bloke, he's trying to commentate, and he's got to deal with us idiots that just don't know what we're doing. I felt bad for him. Like, it was funny.
It's hard for Scotty because he's like, he's so knowledgeable and dedicated to.
I know,
and it's like literally a couple of blokes out there that have never watched a race, let alone participated in one.
Oh, it was too funny. I just remember, like, I think Hayden did it as well, but Hayden would just go in there just so we could drift around the track right at the end of the race, like. But yeah, no, that was pretty fun. That was good. But yeah, I must have bought a heap of tracks for that series because they keep popping up. They're like, oh yeah, you do own this one. I'm like, oh yeah, and they're not included. So yeah, I've bought a couple. Over time. But yeah, it's been good.
I haven't done a thing in iRacing until today when I decided, I don't know what it was, just this wave come over me. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to dive in and do an official. So what's today? Monday. It's a Monday public holiday. So I've dived into the 4:15 official. There's about 10 participants in it. And I'm just, it was a mess. It was a right mess.
Was this in the mini sock or?
No, back in the supercar. Supercar at Bathurst this week. I'm like picking it back up. I'm like, well, there's a track I know I've done a fair few races at, but it's a car that I've done a few races at. But generally, when you've been out of it for a month or two, you typically don't just get straight back into it. But I tried. And naturally, I think about lap 16, I just put it into the fence at Skyline. Oh, man. I just couldn't, the whole time, I just couldn't dial my brake in properly. And I just kept pinching fronts everywhere. And I don't know, it's like going over the top. you got to get on it like dab the brakes and downshift, and then sort of come off it as you go over the crest, and then get back on it again on the other side. And I don't know. I just, as soon as I got on it at the top, I just pinched the fronts, and I'm really just a bit at sea with my. I need to go right back through my brake pedal and make sure it's all set up correctly, because it's kind of just a bit janky at the moment.
Oh, that's that's.
It ended a short. You know, like, I'm really tanking the I rating at the moment. Like,
unintentionally.
You can't even call it tanking, because it's legitimately that bad. Like, I think the officials, like, I don't do a lot of officials. I usually just do leagues. And yeah, but I'll chime into 3 or 4 in a 12-week season. And I mean, I don't think I've gained I rating in the last like 10 officials that I've done. Like, I think I've lost about 800 over the last 12 months. It's very painful. At least my formula I rating stayed up, because it's still at the point when it merged over. It's still around about 2 point something. when they launched that license, and I haven't touched it. But
it's funny, because mine stayed the same as well. And I'm like, oh yeah, now that it's separated, I might go do a few. I don't think I've done a single one.
No, I was looking at it today. At the time, I was gonna do one today. That's what I was originally thinking. I'm like, oh, let's just like chime in, and I'll go and do. Whether it was like, I was looking at the SF lights, but the times, I think there wasn't another one on for like 2 hours or something. So
yeah,
I didn't end up going that way. But that's what I was thinking, just trying to find a little bit of, there was a couple of cars, or what I nearly did was a Formula Ford race. That looked kind of fun. I think that was at that Navarra circuit.
Yes, yep.
But
yeah, I'm just actually looking at your race results here now. Wow, there's let me just paint a picture. A single split, the highest I rating is 7,300. The lowest I rating in the race was 287.
Here I come, 287.
What's going on? Got 5 I rating.
I mean, it's Ben Morris. Like, he's got 7,500. Like,
I know, but it's just.
I was in second place when I crashed out, and I wasn't within like 2 seconds of my personal best at best. Like, for the whole time I was in that car today, and it was just like it's one of those things. Like, that's the thing with the supercar. Like, if people don't drive it, you don't. It's not like a GT3 car where you can just, like, I don't know, hoodwink your way to somewhat being within like 1 or 2 seconds. But like the supercar, you either, if you don't drive it regularly, like, you're miles off. You're like 6 seconds off.
Yeah.
But come on, how do you get to 200 I rating? Like,
that's crazy, because it's like you get 5 I rating for winning that. But man, if he had crashed out and lost that, he would have lost like 180 I rating or something silly.
When you've got 7,500 to lose, that's not that much.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Just shout out to Ben. I think at one point I was playing a game because there was 10 cars in the race, right? And that's good for the V8s this day and age. Like, they don't usually go official, but like, at one stage I was like, can I put on the same amount of time gained over third place as what Ben's putting over on me over first to second? So like, he was putting on about like, at the start, like the first 4 or 5 laps, he was putting on about like 3-4 tenths a lap. And so I was trying to match that for the car behind. And then like, I don't know, when obviously like, as soon as like the tire drop off and started happening, like, he was just putting on like a second a lap, especially over the top. By lap, like, when I pitted like pretty much, I think it was like lap 11 or 12, and he was like in front by 30 plus seconds. Like, it was ridiculous. And I had about a 9-second gap to the car behind, and then I missed my pit bay, and with no one in it, like no no one else in the pit lane. I just missed it because I just couldn't get the brake. I don't know. I just had one of those weird wobbler moments, like, and yeah, just and anyway. And then I got back out, and about 2 laps later, I put it in the fence. But yeah. So don't start with a V8 supercar if you've had 2 months off iRacing. That's what I learned from that one. But maybe we should stick with the supercar though to actually get a little bit of our chat going this evening. There's been quite a lot happening. Obviously, we touched on before, it was iRacing Bathurst 1000 this weekend. So, big ups to all the teams that participated in it. I don't think we participated in it, Packets.
No. I think I remember having a conversation with you when I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing it because I've never done one. And also wanted to do it just because it was going to be the last time with this car. But I don't know. I just honestly I hate the current car so much. I just know I wouldn't enjoy it.
Actually, I remember vividly our conversation about how this came about. It's because I was looking for a co-driver to do the Scops Enduro series with, and then all of a sudden you had all this motivation in the world to drive the supercar.
No,
you're like, let's do the iRacing official together, and I'm like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
and
I was still keen to do the Scops ones, but the official one, I'm like, yeah.
I wasn't, it's groundbreaking news just to release that, you will be driving with me in the Scops Enduros. Like, that's one of the biggest driving combinations out there, surely. Like, we'll be flat out trying to make the grid. I don't know if it's like, yeah. If you're looking for autographs, we'll be starting in the Caltex Chase. Oh man! Well,
I'm going to need to find the deepest, darkest part of the web to get some bloody dirty grip hacks and make your way to that
grid. Top five iRacing controversies. Let's go. No, we're not going down that. That's another podcast. Yeah, that's right. We're going to do the Scops Enduros. Anyway, we'll get to Scops in a second. Let's start. Oh man, there's just been so much good stuff happening with the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series, and in particular the Enduro Cup calendar. The packets. Have you seen anything? Even the content that the guys are putting out over there, like they're sort of just stepping up their game a lot recently.
I probably have, but I'm gonna sound like an absolute idiot saying this, but like I kind of hope that you understand where I'm coming from. But I don't remember. I watch a lot of broadcasts and a lot of coverage, like a lot of streamers and that. So like I do watch all the V8 broadcasts and that, but like every time we talk about it, I can't remember whether it's like a Scops one or it's a Logitech one that I've watched. Like, because I look back, I'm like, oh, did I watch the Logitech one or I watched the Scops one? I just can't remember because always tends up being the same drivers a lot of the time. So,
and you got Rankin on the commentary for both as well.
Oh, that makes it even worse.
Not worse, but harder to separate. Yes.
Oh yeah. It makes it worse to try and figure out, or which one was it? But I always get confused. But I may not have seen the Logitech one. Yeah, I have a feeling
I haven't watched a whole lot of the races myself, but since we were last on, I actually think perhaps they had already gone to. I think I had Jordan on as for the last podcast, Jordan Ross, and they just started their Enduro Cup where they went to Interlagos.
Yes,
and they obviously there's 40 cars on the grid, but they don't allow. So let's play this hypothetical pack. It's you and I qualified for the Logitech Pro G Invitational Series.
Oh, that's absurd.
It's laughable, yeah. But we couldn't team up in enduros. Like you have to find someone from outside the league to be your endurance partner. And oh my God, I think they got half the actual V8s, like the real life V8 supercar grid and the Super 2 Series drivers like participating in it, which is, and I mean, they're all freaking amazing.
Oh no, sorry, I did watch that. No, I actually saw that race. Yeah, because they had Kostecki in there. I think Heimgartner was even in there. Like
mate, like please, they've got that Heimgartner. I think pretty sure Deep Pasquale was in there. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it up the race results right now.
I know Stanaway's a like Stanaway's a consistent one. He's either in the East Coast,
here you go,
or he'll be in the Logitech, or he'll be in the Scops. He's always around.
So let's just we'll run through the 3 rounds of the Endurance Cup, and we need like a little ding counter going on here as to how many real world drivers are. But Interlagos, which there was quite a few, there was a big fallout from Interlagos because there was a little safety car issue where basically I think Jordan spoke about it pretty well on the last podcast we have, which was basically the safety car just intercepted incorrectly.
That old chestnut.
Well, it was there was a big fallout because essentially the way when the safety car got called, the first 3 or 4 cars on track were coming out of the last corner in Interlagos. And as they were coming up the hill and down the main straight, it sort of come over the comms that safety car, because the accident happened in the pit wall, right at pit entry there in Interlagos. And so the Interlagos pit lane, you come over the control line on. Well, I'm not sure what the line's called for pit exit. We'll just pit exit line. Yep. That gets you into the lane, and then you're still in the pit exit lane through turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, and you don't actually come back onto the track until after turn 3 and the second straight. And so what the confusion is the call went out as the lead cars were coming up and about to go over the start finish line. But they got around the safety car before it was able to get out on track. So it got past the pit exit line. Yep. And so where you would normally disengage your pit limit, it was past there, but it wasn't all the way out on track. So then they got called back, essentially. I can't remember if they said they got called back or they got the penalty for passing the safety car on track. So, a lot of unhappy people, but I think listening back, I think it was all called correctly. But get your thoughts on that in a second. But Andrew Gilliam ended up winning the race. But his co-driver was James Golding, Dylan Rudd and Gianni Lutzu in second, and Luke Rosella and Richie Stanaway in third. But just looking down, there's Damon Woods. Oh my God, now I can't find them, but there'll be plenty here. Brody Kostecki. Yeah, Brody and Jared.
I was going to say, just take our word for it. There's some real drivers in there.
Yeah. But I think more might have even come in. There was a wild card in here. They might have come in later, but who did we just mention before? Oh, Macaulay Jones and Andre Heimgartner were the wild card pairing. So 2 real world drivers in one car together. So, there's 7, 8, 9 supercar drivers. So obviously just some pretty sick involvement right there.
Yeah, it's pretty good to see that. Like, you always sort of see him every now and then. Like I said before, like Stanaway is pretty consistent with the Scop series as well as the East Coast series. But yeah, like think Kostecki's another one. He's always been relatively consistent. SVG, like he was always pretty consistent in doing it as well. But yeah, like Deep Pasquale, Heimgarten and all that, like it's good to see them because like, I think during the whole COVID thing, like they were doing it then, but I wouldn't say they were consistent in like being involved in, scops and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's good to see more and more doing it. I'm pretty keen to see what the involvement is once the new car comes out, whether that elevates things a little bit or whether it tapers off. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, they would probably explain it themselves. I haven't been managing to keep up with their podcasts as such, but I know that they're going gangbusters. I know they had both Andre Heimgartner and Macaulay Jones on the Logitech G podcast, so that like it's just I don't know whether these guys. I know these guys themselves do a lot of iRacing in general. Like it's not, it wouldn't be a chore for them to come over and do this, but it's obviously pretty sweet when there's a genuine interest there at blurring the lines and getting like further. And there might be a case where they're going back to the supercars. V8 Supercars organisation or whatever, saying we need to be more involved with this side of things. Like, I'm sure that if we looked into it further, that the guys would be talking about that type of stuff on that podcast as well. But Anton De Pasquale was in for round number 2 as well, so they're everywhere. They're right through the field. I guess we'll move on to round number 2 of the Enduro Cup from at Sandown. Griffin Gardner won round number 2 with Dylan Burse, who's, I believe, a GT3 driver normally on iRacing, but a very, very good one. I think he may have even been in the winning car from, what was the last Enduro we did, Packets?
In what series?
The iRacing official. Never mind. I believe the Eclipse Sim Sports. I'm not sure whether the Eclipse team is an Australian team or not, but I know there's a lot of Australian GT3 drivers in there, and they're all very, very good. So I believe they were in top split there somewhere on one of the races we were doing, and they were going very, very well on the broadcaster split. So he's not probably a name that's synonymous with the supercar in iRacing, but very good driver, obviously. So Griffin and him won the Sandown race. Dylan Rudd and Gianni Lutzu again in second, and so Jared Filsell and Brody Kostecki were third. So it's, I guess, the theme at the moment with the supercar, whether it's Logitech G Pro Invitational or Scops, is who the bloody hell is going to stop? Who's going to stop Lobs Esports? Because they've got they're the top 3 in Sandown. I'm pretty sure they'll. Let me get the actual facts here and not just talk off the top of my head. But they had the top 3 at Interlagos. They had the top 3 at Sandown, and I don't know. They just are you? How much? I know we've spoken about them before, but have you been following them any more, Packets, since we last spoke?
Well, you and I actually spoke about it. I just can't remember if it was the Sandown race or whether it was the Scops Bathurst, but I remember messaging you at one point saying something along the lines of the whole top 6 is Lobs Esports. It was something like that. I'm pretty sure it was the Bathurst 1000. It was like the top 5 or whatever it was. It was Lobs Esports, and then all the other teams started filling in after that. And then I remember just watching them all like on safety car restarts and whatnot, and it was just I'm like, wow, these guys are just absolutely dominating,
dominating everything. And Sandown, they had first, second, third, fourth, and not fourth. They had fifth and seventh. So they had 5 of the top 7.
Yeah.
Like in it, like on a sprint race, like I know that, you know, when you have the best driver lineup, like you're going to feature heavily at the front. But yeah, these officials, these endurance races, they're longer. Like so much can go wrong. Like it doesn't just all come down to skill. Like there's obviously a team, and you know, I don't know how much I've heard about him, but I know Shane Van Gisbergen is tied up in some capacity. Obviously, he's not going to be. Yeah, he could own the whole thing. I don't know, but like there's quite a lot of, I think, you know, real world drivers that are sort of put it together, and naturally the cream of the drivers in Australia are all going there, and doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon. Not least from the neutral perspective.
Like what have they got? They got James Scott, they got Dylan Rudd, and then they've got a bunch of actual supercar drivers like racing for them. Because I think I've even seen there was what was there? There was an Australian NASCAR series, and like even SVG's been running in that for Lobs Esport. Like it's just, it's crazy, man. Like, but they've just like their driver roster at the moment is just, they're unmatched.
Yeah, we've seen some competitive driver lineups for different teams over the years, but certainly in the last 6 years, since I've been taking a particular interest in it, but this one 100% takes the cake. But we've seen it happen in the past, and I know, like, I've heard other people discuss it, like when all these drivers flock into the team, sometimes it doesn't always end will last long, and so it kind of got a little bit of an air of as long as there's those real world drivers backing it, it kind of feels like that this is going to be more long lasting than what some of those monumental shifts over time has been as well. So and it's not a shot at Lobs Esports for just going out and getting the best drivers there is. Like I think there's a genuine interest for those drivers that they actually want to be there, and possibly that team offers the most to a driver in terms of the ability to improve and access to obviously real world drivers and getting a chance to talk to them. Like it's awesome. Like you can't imagine what that would be like. That'd be such a cool thing to be a part of.
I'd just like to know like what it's like for like other drivers in that series at the moment. Like, prime example, for like the last sort of stint of probably the last sort of 20 plus laps of the Bathurst 1000 they did. And like P1 was like Rosella, Gardner, and then you had Madison down, and then Gilliam, James Scott. So like you had Madison down like in a Lobs Esports sandwich. Like it's just like, and it's just like how
if you can even
you're just like, no matter what I need to do here, like this is going to be difficult for me. Like, because you're surrounded by four guys that you just know they're all on the same team. They want to win it. They want their team to win it. So you're just like, you're driving in your mirror. You can't get past people in front of you because you know they're going to defend like hell. It's like, and they're all just like at the top of their game, like extremely competitive. And it's just like, it's like a force to be reckoned with, eh? Like,
I wouldn't say he was the meat in the sandwich. It's more like the meat in the double quarter pounder, like that. If I was in his position, I would be sitting there going, I want to win this race. They want to win this race. Just judging, just looking around, I'd be like, I can guarantee it's not going to be me that's going to win this race with that many people around me. It's it'd be, I don't know, cool to hear his opinion. Like Madison, obviously, everyone knows Madison, and he's been TTR the whole time. He's just going to be sitting there going, we've got to retool and think about how we're going to take, like, it's really only to be them that can take it to him. Like, these other teams on the fringes, like your Evolution Racing team or Vermilion, like, they're probably again now a step down from TTR, and but yeah, like, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to know his thoughts on that, on like how they're going to go about trying to I guess take them on head to head, but also make sure that none of their own guys jump over it as well. Like that, I don't. There's going to be more. There's going to be more people that end up there. But it's interesting, kind of like, part out conversation about what's happening in that sort of space, because it's exciting, but a lot of these leagues now, they feature a at least probably 3 cars from the Lobs Esports stable at the top. So it's pretty much themselves competing against themselves for the championships and a lot of the prominent V8 supercar championships anyway. But you did, like you said before, Luke Rosella and Richie Stanaway won Bathurst. Griffin Gardner and Dylan Burst was in second, and Madison Down and Rehan Leonard managed to come home in third. But then you have Andrew Gilliam, James Golding, James Scott, Brian Wood down in fourth and fifth. So just amazing. Those guys. I think I was looking through the screenshots from the races, from Bathurst race, and you could just, I don't know if you've seen it, Packets, like on the Logitech Jeep Facebook page, you can just see like Madison in the middle of like all these Lobs Esports cars. It looked like an intimidating position to be in.
100%. Hey, like, those last sort of like 10 odd laps, it was just, you're like, oh, what do you do?
I'll quickly give the championship standings. So I think there's only a couple of rounds left now, but Dylan Rudd actually leads the way from Lobs Esports. So normally you'd think it'd be a Jared Filsell or James Scott. Dylan Rudd is right there in first place. He has now got a 250-point lead over Andrew Gilliam, his teammate, also from Lobs Esports, and Griffin Gardner is only 12 points back in third place, also of Lobs Esports, and Madison and Brady from Trans-Tasman Race and round out the top 5. So interesting, Dylan obviously is an accomplished driver, but I think he's yet to win a Scops or a Logitech series. So probably a like I said, you'd probably expect out of that stable maybe a Phil Cell or someone, or James Scott, but he looks like he's, touch wood, well on track.
Yeah, like I think, we're all sort of very familiar with Rudd and, back in the RSRA days. And he's, I think it's safe to say that he's definitely stepped his game up a lot within the Scops and sort of Logitech series. He's definitely stepped up to the plate a lot more.
Yeah, he's benefited a lot from the team change. Like, he was doing very, very good job for 9.5. We had a good conversation actually back episode number 1 with Sean McNamara, talking about Dylan and how he was sort of like, the prominent figure in their team. And he moves on to Lobs and gets quicker, and it's probably fair to say from a byproduct of being in that team with stronger drivers. So he's sort of poised now to probably take his first major championship.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say, at least in the supercar. I don't think, a couple of those RSRA championships were hard fought stuff, but probably nowhere near the same level as what the Logitech G Series is. I've got a question for you though, coming out of the Bathurst 1000 weekend. What's your stance on retro liveries?
Oh, this is a touchy subject for people, eh?
For the first time in a long time, I looked at the field and I thought, I've seen this all before. Obviously, the retro, but I'm just like, I kind of feel like I'm getting a bit tired of it. Is that controversial?
Are we talking about iRacing or the actual series?
No, iRacing, because it's quite common for most leagues or whatever to have a retro round.
Yeah, I don't know. You do get tired of it, I guess. But I think the reason that you get tired of it so much is because, how many times you have a lob at an official and there's always someone there with an old Dick Johnson bloody livery or something like that. Or there's always a HRT livery. There's always a Red Bull livery. Like, they're always there. So you always see them. Like, I haven't seen this in years. And I saw that last week in the official, and that dude had 200 eye rating and died in the first lap. So I don't know if it's just that sort of thing that contributes to that. Like, whereas I don't know, but like even in real like supercars, like they had like a couple of retro liveries for Sandown, and I was just like, yeah. It's cool, but then I get confused when I look at the screen sometimes. I'm like, oh, where's that car? Like, rather than reading the bloody timesheets, I'm like, or the standings and that. I'm like, oh, where's that car? I'm like, I got to look at the standings because the car looks different this weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like in that sort of sense, I'm like, like it's, I could never do it again. It wouldn't faze me. Like,
it wouldn't faze me, yeah. I appreciate the ones like Trans-Tasman, for example, went back to one of their own very first liveries, and I
think that's cool.
That's cool that you have a team that's essentially got its own history now, and you can throw back to that. That's cool. I think, but they also did a HRT livery as well. But I think for one of them, I can't quite remember, but like that's cool. That's really cool, and I think they did the same for TTL, which was another old team. Which a few of their drivers come across from, and they were the orange and black. But I think that I like that now more than I liked, say them throwing back to the HRT livery, because I think they've got their own history, and that should be celebrated more than just trying to recreate a real world or old real world livery. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
Yeah,
there's only so many times you can redo the shell and the HR, and you're right. Like, there's nothing worse rocking up to like Formula Fords and there's like a HRT livery on there, and it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there's a HRT livery on every single car in iRacing. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, and then there's a Golf. There's always a Golf livery.
The Marlboro livery. Yeah, go and race the Pontiac Solstice
or a Castrol livery,
Marlboro liveries. Yeah, it's just. It is that. I think you're right. I think you've nailed it. That's what's ruined it for me. It's because those liveries are associated with chaos in iRacing officials, and I can't bear to watch. Like,
they're constantly memed 52 weeks a year already. So like, they're just
It's no longer throwback round. It's meme round.
Yeah. That's what it's like.
I mean, there's heaps of people out there that love him, and I get it. But I would, if you're a new team and you want to recreate your favorite real world, that's okay. But I like it when these teams that have been around for a long time and become sort of like the pillars of the supercar scene. Like, I talk about the supercars. That's kind of what I know best. But there's GT3 teams and whatnot. Yeah, recreating your own originals. I think there's more nostalgia and meaning in that than just recreating bloody Ayrton Senna's livery for the 450 millionth time. So, interesting point.
So while we're on the topic of Logitech, do they have a teams championship?
I
mean, like, it's kind of obvious who would be leading that, but
I don't think they do.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think they do. Certainly can't find it at first glance anyway.
Yep.
But, I think that sort of summarizes where that's all up to. However, they do acknowledge the Enduro Cup as a separate championship.
Okay, that's different.
So, I'm just going to scroll up and find it here. And it's going to keep making me look. I think it was Luke Rosella and Luke Rosella in that one Bathurst, but was it Griffin Gardner that won? No. So, okay. Sorry for that brief pause. Might have to do some editing there. So, yeah, the Enduro Cup. Okay, so Luke Rosella and Richie Sellaway won it in the end. And they beat their teammates Dylan Rudd and Gianni Lutzu by... Oh, it was quite comfortable in the end. Oh, no, it wasn't. My maths is, after 5 beers this evening, my maths isn't the best. 12. Okay, 20 points. Okay, that's nothing. That's 20 points. And then again, it was another Lobs Esports car in third place with Andrew Gilliam and James Golding. So pretty well dominated the Endurance Cup, just like they're dominating the standalone championship. So
yeah,
that rounds out the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series. Charge off. Where are... okay. There was one other thing that happened in the Logitech G Enduro Cup, which I thought was quite interesting, is leading into the Bathurst 1000, they had the co-driver clash. So they actually had a mini race. It was 32 laps, in air quotes, mini race. 32 laps is still a long time around Bathurst. But yeah, the co-drivers raced off, and the winner got a free golden ticket, or got entry into next year's Logitech G Pro Invitational Series full time. So
yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, so they've got these golden tickets now. So it's not just when we kick off 2025, we'll pick back up the V8 Vets, and we'll see if they do it again for East Coast. But they give away the golden ticket or the free entrance. So this is the third time or third different series that we've seen them handed out for. So yeah, so I think that went the way of Ryan Wood. So again, another.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll see whether assuming he can make it, but he's obviously got real world commitments to keep up with there. So, but yeah, like I said, lots and lots and lots of good stuff going on over there. Like, the guy's doing really well. Obviously, a very difficult thing for most of us to get into, but stuff to aspire to. So. And they're obviously going great guns with their podcast and everything as well. So, they haven't attracted the special guests such as yourself yet, but they've got Macaulay Jones and Andre Harker. Oh dear.
I'm sure the call's not far off.
Yeah. They'll be looking for your insights. I think you'd actually go well in the commentary booth, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I hope they bring up Winton.
Yeah. Oh dear. All right. Well, let's off the back of this, we'll just briefly touch on V8 Scops. There's been a few rounds since we last spoke about V8 Scops as well, but it's not much of a surprise to know that Lobs Esports is dominating that with James Scott as well. So I think he's well over a win clear, possibly even more. They haven't updated the most recent rounds, but I think he had a 400-500 point lead going into the Road America round. I know they've raced at Road Atlanta, which was the last, I believe, the last individual race of the year. So that's put a fork in that. That's done. He's won that. So congratulations to James for that. But I don't know if I've ever seen someone dominate a series quite like he did this year with Scops.
Yeah.
I looked. So again, it wasn't updated, but I believe what to show the Road Atlanta round, and I haven't. The Road Atlanta round was like 3. It was like a super sprint, so it was like 3 races, and I know he won at least 2 of those races, but I don't know whether he won the overall round. But I kind of laughed when I was looking at the spreadsheet packets, and I broke it down to each individual round result. and he's won every single round. And
wow.
up to date, so obviously the Road Atlanta round wasn't included in it. So it was like, and then had his drop round, and the points in his drop round was the same as every other race result. Like, how can you just drop a race win as your drop round?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. But obviously, big ups to him. He's doing so well with the car and the V8 in general. I don't see that changing with a change of car. Or the Gen 3 when the Gen 3 comes in. I missed the Road Atlanta round. I was a little bit concerned actually when I seen the Scops page put out their pre-qualifying updates, and I think after the first night there was less than enough for split one, and the second night there was barely enough for two splits, and then but it looks like in the end there must have been a decent turnout on the third pre-qualification night, because I think they had about 24 participants in split two for the round, which is certainly more than the Road America round, but I did participate in that one. So I think there was about 14 drivers, but I wanted to bring up split two. Split one's been, par for the course. There's fair play. There's been a lot of domination happening in split one, but split two's been an absolute chaos fest the last couple of rounds. I haven't been able to watch the Road Atlanta round in full, but I know there was multiple safety cars. So there's been quite a few shenanigans going on in split two, though. I know you watched the Road America round. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that was chaos. Yeah. I don't want to mention names, but that race as a whole was, it was
for a 14-car grid. There was a lot of action.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm no expert in a supercar by any means, but yeah, the driving in that race was by a few drivers was pretty funny. But I'm not even sure what to say, because I know, like, if I go too deep in it and say something, I'll probably offend some people. But yeah, it was the driving standards in that race were pretty laughable by a few people.
Well, there was more. Yeah, when you rock up on the grid and you see, I can't remember if it was 14 or 16 or 18 cars or whatever, and you think, for me, I remember, Road America obviously just features a lot in the Australian supercar calendar, at least 2 or 3 times a year in the officials and pretty much in every single league. It's one of these races, and it shows with the pre-qualification that you typically, you don't need to put as much preparation in to getting on pace. And
it's Road America.
Yeah,
it's just that track.
Yeah, and I left my pre-qual. I think I did my pre-qual on Saturday night or Friday night. I can't remember with that one. I thought I was doing okay, and then by the time Saturday night played out, I think I was back to like second or I think third last on the grid or whatever, but at least close to the cars in front of me. But you sort of rock up and you think, oh God, this could be as far as forward as I go tonight, like 16th on the grid. But it ended up being so far from what actually unfolded that, I can't quite remember where I finished because it changed after the race.
Yeah, because I remember messaging the Discord, and I think you may have finished like 8th maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember saying something along the lines of like, yeah, you're probably going to end up in 4th. I'm pretty sure everyone in front of you is going to get a penalty after like the way they were all driving. Like there was just, I'm pretty sure there was a few penalties there. Like, so yeah, I have a feeling it may have got bumped up.
There was at least 2. I think I finished 6th. But there was more deliberation. I could have potentially finished 5th, but I think there was they were issuing time penalties to cars at that stage in the race because there was all sorts of shenanigans. I mean, there's been a lot made of like there was defensive driving happening. We all know Timmy is a great defensive driver. That's what he does, and there was a few attempts early in the race to get past him, and one resulted in, I think, one of the other drivers being called out for deliberately trying to wreck him, and he got instant DQ or something like that. So, there was more than a few attempts to, let's say, shift him out of the way, but he and it kind of just it sparks a chain reaction. The cars they group up, and even with someone that's, say, driving a second or 2 seconds off the pace or what they're capable of, it's still hard to get past. Like, it's such a, and then you've got it's deep into the race, so you got marbles and stuff on the dirty line, and it creates a lot of sort of confusion and just obviously chaos, and then you see the frustration boil over, and amongst the drivers that are sort of all queuing up behind them, and we've seen like hip and shoulders off the tracks, and it wasn't even necessarily happening in those lead two cars, and most of the time, I just try and drive a clean race, and generally by doing that, I move forward more than just a few positions. Because that you can do that in split 2. You can't do that in split 1 because you drive a nice, clean, consistent race. Well, that's good enough to get you 20th, 5th, because that's what everyone else is capable of doing in that split. But in split 2, I was sort of just picking them off one by one, and then I could just see there was like 6 cars, and they were going like 4 wide down the straight at Road America. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to end real bad. And I remember coming into turn 5, I think it is, the hairpin left-hander. I rolled out of it 100 meters early because I'm like, this is literally 3 wide with 2 cars behind, and I would have made the 6th car. So it would have been 2 rows of 3 cars, and I just rolled out, and 4 cars took each other out in the corner, and I think Timmy, who was the lead car in that pack, got through. And then I was the 6th car in that pack, and then everyone in between us got wiped out. So it just drove through. I think 1 or 2 got back past me, but then they received post-race penalties. So it was just it was chaos, but it was fun to be part of. I'll tell you that much.
It was. I'll tell you what, it was fun to watch, especially
the comment section.
YouTube. I had the live chat going, and it was some funny. Funny comments coming through at the time.
Yeah, it was going gangbusters. But it's interesting. Like I think at the start of the season, most people want to move from split 2 up into split 1, but then you get your usual faces down there, and it ends up becoming, even though it's not really. I don't think there's a split 2 championship. It's like it's all for naught at the end of the day. But there's definitely like your regular faces there. That you go racing with each week, and it's enough now that a few of them get frustrated with each other, but whatevs, it's all good.
It's funny, this is only sort of like crossed my mind, and in this sort of way, and it's like, I don't know if you could call it controversial, but I think a lot of people probably sort of think of it this way, but for so long, like Scops was like the peak of supercars for Australia sim racing. And then, from what I remember back when I was sort of like coming about with it all, like, which is, I'm still fresh, like I'm only been doing it for, a few years. Like, there was Scops, and then the next one, probably not far behind it, was RSRA. And I remember when the whole Logitech series came about initially, and I remember us talking about it, and we sort of weren't sure what to think of it. Like initially, we were confused as to what it was going to be. We weren't sure what their take was on it, or whether it was going to be a good thing. And funny behold, like it's ended up being the pinnacle. And it feels like now, especially since changing organizations with Scops, it feels like Logitech has become what Scops was, and it feels like Scops has now become what RSRA was. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. It just that's how I sort of look at it now. Like, that like Scops isn't the pinnacle maybe anymore. Like maybe Logitech is the one, and yeah, I don't know. You kind of see that with the driving standards as well. I feel more now where towards the end of RSRA before it burnt down, like the driving standards that you saw throughout both splits is like kind of where Scops is sort of sitting now as well. But yeah, I could be completely wrong on that. But yeah, it feels like.
Well, you weren't wrong. I don't know. RSRA being burnt down. They got.
Yeah.
I think, no, it's the case. Like, I don't think many would dispute.
Yeah, what's your take on that?
Like, Logitech's the pinnacle by far and away. Like, it's the only issue I have with Logitech, which is not. I mean, it's done an exceptional job of. They come out. And they come right out at the start and said they were going to do this, this, and that. And I said, right, well, this is going to go two ways. It's either going to fail very fast, or people can eventually buy into it, and it'll succeed. And it's, thankfully that the latter has occurred. It's succeeding. However, my concern is that all of the sort of upper echelon drivers been sucked into that competition, and to do any well in that competition, you need to be 100% devoted. Like,
yeah,
if your next round is at, Monza in 2 weeks, between now and then, that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
there's no time for other leagues. I mean, some will, some guys still do leagues, but it seems to have sucked a lot of the quality out of other leagues, and I can understand why, because maybe not some of the upper, like I said, some of the uppercut drivers, but like even like look at Madison, who has done Scops forever and a day. He just partakes here and there, and he probably just partaking in rounds where he can just show up and be competitive, like by I mean, he does VRS. He does, he spends plenty of time on the simulator, obviously. But like, there'll be some tracks where he doesn't need to try real hard to be on the pace. Like, that's obvious.
Yep.
So you've gone from those guys competing week in, week out in the Scops competition to them. They're seldom drivers, and the competition at the front's gone out of it a little bit, and it's. I think like James Scott's been far too good for anyone this year, and I think there's been some white flags being raised a little bit early this season, and I don't know whether that's just the drivers acknowledging that they're too good, that he's too good, and maybe they're thinking, no, there's not much point in continuing on, or whether that's a league admin side where they're not pushing it like. Maybe like they should. I don't want to sort of sound like I'm calling them out on that, but like, that it's just got that feeling of staleness to it. Let's just be honest. Like, yeah, it's sort of stale. So, but right now we're going into the Enduro Cup, so I actually fully think you'll see it turn almost 180 degrees now, and you will get a lot of more competitive guys come back just specifically for the 3 endurance races.
Yeah,
especially with Logitech winding down. So, but yeah, it's kind of been a what do they say? What's the say? It's the byproduct of success for Logitech has been essentially I wouldn't call it a downfall, but just a weaker product in Scops. And I don't think that's not to say anything against the AOG who are running it. It's just the competition's just gone out of it. Well, I think that sums up our V8 Supercar chat on a somewhat what's the word? I don't know. Flat tone of them. But it could all change once again once the Gen 3 comes out. That'll be the final.
Yeah. Well, while on that topic, let's keep that rolling. It apparently just missed out, they reckon, for this build. So, like, I don't know, something about data back and forth between here and there. They got to confirm a few things with, the people out here. They're probably just confirming whether only the rear brakes are meant to glow. Who knows? Could be anything. Yeah.
The rear brakes glowing. Oh dear.
I was honestly surprised. I'd heard people waffle on about it. Oh, yeah, no, it's been done and it's really close. Blah, blah, blah. I think I've even heard Rankin say it before. And I remember him saying it. I'm thinking, nah, fucking no way. Like, there's no way this thing's close. Like, I ate my words on that one. They said that it was nearly released on this build. So I was really surprised about that. I've just... You already know my feelings because we've spoken about it a lot, many times, about how much I don't like the current car. I like the previous gen supercars on iRacing. Anytime that pops up in a league, I'm always in it. I just like the way that thing feels, and even the way it sounds is better. The in-car sound on the current one, just that is the worst, most accurate car on iRacing.
Yep.
Are you right? You're right over there, mate. You're dying.
Yeah. I am legitimately coming down with a cold. I haven't been at P. Diddy's parties all weekend.
Oh, far out. Yeah, the current car, it's so inaccurate. The outer car sound is really good, I think. Like on TV1, the current car sounds like really good. But the cockpit sound is just the only thing that's close is the gear one. That's it. And that's not even a sound of the car. That's just a bloody gear turning. Like, it's got nothing to do with the note of the car or anything. Like, so between that and just the feel of the car, like compared to the older one, I don't like it. Like, I just think it's crazy because of how different the old car feels compared to the new one or the current one. And yet, as far as a Gen series goes with a car, they're pretty on par, like, together, those cars. Like, technology is pretty much all bar nearly the same with a lot of things. So for those cars to feel completely different is a bit odd. Whereas I remember you talking about when that car was first released, the new one. Sorry, the current one, I keep saying that. But and how different it felt. And then it got a couple of updates to sort of fix it. And then it's just completely different now. My worry is with the Gen 3 is the way that the current car is now closer to what the Gen 3 would actually be like. So, like, is the Gen 3 just going to come out feeling like what the current car is?
Are you saying we already have the Gen 3? It just doesn't look like one?
That's what I'm worried about. Is that the current car already handles like a Gen 3 and it's just going to come out and looking like a Gen 3. Yeah, in the end, it's just going to look like a Gen 3.
Even talking to Jordan in the last episode we did, he echoed the same thing. Like, because I think the announcement that post coming out where they'd said that it just missed out this, that coming out just before we did that, re-recorded that episode. And I was speaking to him about it, and he's just like, they're nervous. They're really nervous about what state that car's going to release in.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's weird. Like, your cars get released on iRacing. Like the Mustang got released. So it was kind of controversial within the discords we know about. You always watch a stream where there's people talking about how bad the Ford is and that, but that's kind of about it. But I feel like this car might actually create quite a bit of noise depending on how it's released. But like key things for me is the handling. because, you know, at the end of the day, the current car is a pig. I really love the older car. I've said that so many times. It feels like it actually has a bit of aero on the car, which the old, oh my God, I'm getting so confused about which current car I'm talking about. But like the Commodores and that, like it had aero on it. So like the previous gen car and iRacing felt like it actually had aero. Whereas like the current one just feels like it has nothing. It feels like it's got no bodywork on it at all. Whereas the Gen 3 is meant to be so much more harder to drive and so much worse on tires. And it's just like, how can you make that car actually worse than what it already is? Like, how you know what I mean? Yeah. How bad is it going to be to drive if it actually is worse? And that's where I'm worried that they've cooked the current car so much that they either have to make it pretty much, they're going to have to make it pretty much the same to make it actually realistic to the Gen 3.
And just increase like harsher tire drop off.
Yeah.
Even the tire drop off now is realistic. Like it happens after 3 laps. Like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how it goes. Like how the car de-evolves over. Like obviously iRacing bringing it in, it was amazing when they brought it in. Obviously slightly unrealistic. Like people were, like I said, pretty much breaking the 2-minute barrier at Bathurst. Like that's not realistic. But and obviously they do it to get interest, and it worked. And then we just seen this car de-evolve like for literally the next 18 months, and then it hasn't changed since. Like with all the updates. Yeah. But something must be changing in it, because, you know, even like, you know, today jumping in for the race, I haven't done a official race for ages. So, you know, I'm a subscriber to VRS. Like I went and got a setup, and the brake bias is like at 57. You know, I'm like, oh my God. Like I remember getting VRS sets for this car at the start, and it's like, you know, I used to like my bias set more. I used to pick the VRS up and I would wind it back. Like I like the further back.
Yeah.
So I could brake harder and not pinch the fronts. And like, it was, I think to myself, how do you go from, you know, 12 to 18 months ago running with your biases around 50 for most tracks to 50 to 50. I'd even say some tracks I had it down at like 48. You wouldn't have so many of like these sets now, they're wind so far forward. It's crazy. But so
it's just their way of trying to get the rear brakes not to glow so much.
Yeah, probably. It's like, well, I can't see the rear disc glow anymore anyway, because all the tire smoke that's coming off the fronts when I lock them up.
Yeah. See, and that's another thing that because like you and me have had some very like long conversations about supercars and iRacing and like the state of the cars and whatnot. And like I've said so many times, I'm like, why haven't they ever just patched like the brake glowing thing? Like, why is that so hard? And like, I think even like, I remember seeing a lot of Facebook posts like in the Australian iRacing group and whatnot, and like I think I've even seen Richie Stanaway like commenting it about the state of it sometimes and whatnot. Like he's always been very vocal about it, and it's like, yeah, it's weird. I'm like, iRacing normally patch things relatively well,
100%,
like especially
put on the shit tip.
Yeah. So like, it's just like, did they just cut their losses and realize how poorly it was released, or is there a relationship issue between wherever their info comes from here to them, that it's just the too hard basket for them to go about sorting it out?
I definitely think that the Gen 3 was meant to come out probably a year ago, and they put it on the scrap heap then, and just for whatever reason, there's been more and more delays, and it's just they've never taken the current car back off the scrap heap to keep working on it, because they probably always felt like the Gen 3 was going to be coming in the next build anyway. and then it's just been put back and put back and put back. So, it's 100% been forgotten about.
The development of the iRacing Gen 3 feels like the actual launch of the real Gen 3 and how poor it was.
It's dead set been in development longer than the rain.
Yeah, like the release of it, the delay, and then I can just assure you that the release of when it actually gets released, like there's going to be that same
it's probably going to be like getting smacked in the face with a wet fish. Like
the only thing
everyone's I think that's everyone's concern. I don't think we're alone on that.
Yeah, the only thing that's not going to happen, unlike the real life, is the parity, because on iRacing they just go plonk. They're both the same car.
Yeah,
and which is the smartest way of doing it. Because you knock off that parity issue by having it technically as the same car. But yeah, I don't know if that is the contributing factor of why the handling is the way it is. I don't know. Like, it's just
look at the bright side. If they keep knocking it back, when they eventually do release it, we'll get it with the Supra.
Yeah, true. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, the Gen 3 needs to come out sounding exactly like the late model with more power and slightly less rear grip, and you've nailed it. That's there. If anyone's ever driven the late model on a road course, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you just said something before that made me just stop and think. You know how like the supercar is exactly the same car. Both the Ford and Honda are exactly the same. It's not going to stop them charge us twice for the same thing, though, is it? It's just a different reskin. Oh, okay, like a different looking car on the outside, but otherwise it's exactly the same. But you get to pay for it twice.
Well, when you get a VRS setup, what do you get, a Ford one and a Holden one? No, you don't. No. You use the same setup.
Yeah.
And I feel like iRacing has kind of stitched themselves up with this, because when they released the new what's the bloody car they released? Oh my god. And I'll tell you in a second, because the street stock, they released the new street stock. They released the Casino and the Eagle. When you buy one, you have both. So
there needs to be a petition signed for this. This is outrageous.
This, and you have to buy this car. So they're the same car, they just look different. So where's the supercar lie with that?
Oh, what have you started? Pitchforks out.
It's you can't do it with that and not with that.
Lucky there's not many people that listen to this podcast, otherwise you might have started a war.
It's like, and I know 100% they're both going to get released as two cars, because why wouldn't they? They just there.
Oh, 100%.
But
100% they're going to charge us twice. They know there's, like, they know there's a devoted fan base in Australia that will pay twice for this car. Oh, I feel like an idiot.
Yep. Or I don't know. I feel like they've stitched themselves up in the way they release that car, because it just opens up this problem here, where technically it's the same car, runs the same setup. Well, what are you doing?
And we're going to leave it here for this episode of the Sim Racing in Focus podcast. Tune back in next week, where you can hear part 2 to the conversation, where we talk about the Premier Endurance League and other topics in the sim racing world. Appreciate everyone tuning back in. It's been a while since we got a chance to record an episode, so appreciate it if you are returning. And by all means, subscribe to the podcast and stick around so you can catch next week's episode. Other than that, it's bye for now.